When global auto giants like Mercedes or Hyundai land in Alabama's pool, the impact is huge. And it sets off this ripple effect. We're talking about companies that make all the little parts that go into making a car. Well, those are the supplier deals that we don't hear about as much. But behind the scenes, there's fierce competition among cities and towns that want to land one.
We have over 500 companies associated with automotive manufacturing. They represent the largest manufacturing presence in the state of Alabama. And of course, we have 3 original equipment manufacturers, the OEMs, with Honda, Hyundai, and Mercedes-Benz located in the state.
OEM is just a fancy name for the big boys you hear about in the news, the huge global companies everyone knows. But they don't operate in a vacuum. A Mercedes or a Honda relies on lots of small factories to make the parts. These are called suppliers, and landing one is tough.
So in the world of trying to bring suppliers to the state, how competitive is it?
Oh, it's very competitive. The interesting thing is, if you looked at Alabama in the mid-90s when Mercedes-Benz was being recruited, we competed at that time against other southeastern states, but now we find ourselves often competing with other regions around the world. In the times past, we sometimes have been able to sit back and play catch, as I like to say, and catch projects that come our way. Well, those days are over. In these times, you have to be more strategic to be successful.
A lot of suppliers just do one very specific thing. Take Thermolex in Montgomery, for example. These guys make this one tiny part for your car's air conditioner. Barry Andrews is manager at Thermolex.
Well, what this is a condenser, and when you talk about the products that we make for this condenser, I don't know if you can see it or not, but there's tubes inside here. Now this one's been painted black, and obviously the one I'm holding has got a white coating on it. When we make the product that we make and we send it to the tier 1s, they take all the other components and assemble this condenser. Yeah, this particular condenser goes in a Honda. As you can see, it's kind of small here. This is in the Toyota Tundra pickup truck.
And the 200-something people who work here, they live in the area, Montgomery, or?
They do. I think just about everybody lives in the general area. We do have some people come from Auburn. We're here in Montgomery, obviously. We have some people in Prattville, but in the surrounding towns, I'd say 85–90% of everybody lives in the Montgomery area.
I mean, just from where you sit, what do you think, what kind of an impact do you think you have on the local economy and the state economy overall?
Gosh, I've never, 220 or so people living, eating, dining, doing whatever here. I haven't calculated it, but I'm sure it's significant.
So while the major plants end up in bigger cities like Montgomery and Tuscaloosa, suppliers can look to the little towns to set up shop. When Hyundai announced it was coming to Montgomery in 2002, it was the smaller Alabama towns that rolled out the red carpet for suppliers. One of those towns was Greenville.
Greenville, Alabama, your exit to success.
Our community, it struggles from the economy standpoint. We know what a recession is all about because we've gone through a recession. But without the jobs that we had from Hyundai Motor Company, I would really hate to know what it would be like around here.
Greenville is home to 2 Hyundai Tier 1 suppliers, Huashin and Hisco. Those 2 plants brought more than 1,000 local jobs.
20 years ago, if you'd have said we were going to have Korean companies in Greenville, Alabama, and I'd been to Korea 3 times, I would have started laughing at you immediately. It's mind-blowing.
We had 28 Korean companies come look at Greenville. We got 3, okay? That's a great percentage.
When Hyundai announced plans to build in 2002, Greenville had one of the highest unemployment rates in the state, over 18%. Greenville Mayor Dexter McClendon got right to work recruiting suppliers. But it wasn't easy going up against bigger towns.
You got to have everybody know about your town when you have a small town. Everybody knows about Montgomery. How do you make sure they know about Greenville? Well, the first thing we did when Hyundai made the announcement, we put a billboard up, okay? And it said, "Welcome Hyundai, Greenville's open for business." And we put it between the Hyundai plant and downtown where they stay in the hotels. Well, the next thing that happened, I went to the groundbreaking and I worked the crowd, okay? I made sure everybody knew who Dexter McClendon was. And I take a lot of pride, if you ever meet me, you're probably not gonna forget me, okay? I handed Korean cards out.
You got your own cards made into a Korean version.
That's right. I was handing them out to everybody that would take one.
Did you learn any Korean?
I didn't learn any at all. I don't know English very well, so I sure wasn't gonna learn Korean very well. So I just started working the crowd.
You have to be charming and charismatic, but to land a supplier, McClendon says, you almost have to be willing to bend over backwards.
You have to jump through a lot of hoops. You have to be real patient, which is not something I do very well, to get these companies.
What kind of hoops do you have to jump through?
Well, those hoops are, they're gonna come with the wash-in that's here now. They came 25 times before they made a decision.
What do they do in 25 visits?
They look at property, they ask questions, they change their mind and they start back over. Then they tell you they're going to another town and they want you to give them more incentives to get them to get their company. They play one town against the other. Their job is to get the best deal they can get. And my job is to get jobs without paying too much for those jobs. But as you know, when you ride by Mercedes from Tuscaloosa to Birmingham, you really can't pay too much because it all comes back. I mean, they spent $80 million when they came in, okay, just to build the building and to put the equipment in. You're talking about millions and millions of dollars into your economy.
The good news for Greenville is that both Hisco and Huaxin plan to expand. That means more jobs and more money pumped into Greenville's economy.
Coming up next on Alabama Inc.
For me to be in control of every aspect of my life, I had to be the one who owned and ran the show.